Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video. And in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Lefebvre versus Gallagher fight. If you are new around here though and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So of course, as I always say, sorry if my pronunciation is ever wrong. I don't even know if it's right for Lefebvre, but like I said, apologies if that's the case. So going into this fight, Lefebvre is 17-0 with 1 KO and Gallagher is 6-1 with no KOs. This fight is for the WBO World Super Bantamweight title. Lefebvre's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Dionysius, and Gallagher's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Whiteside. This is in Lefebvre's home country of France. Lefebvre is 30 and Gallagher is 25. Lefebvre has much more experience over what Gallagher has, but of course Gallagher has that youthfulness as an added bonus in her favour. Gallagher's a loss that came via unanimous decision versus Hughes in 2022. So, to speak a bit more about what I've just said there, of course it's for a world title. Gallagher getting the shot at Lefebvre's world title. It's another defence for Lefebvre. I don't know off the top of my head how many that is now. I think it might be 3 or 2. But yeah, Gallagher now getting this opportunity after having only recently realistically lost versus Hughes. I mean, it was just last year, and she's fought twice since then, managed to get 2 very dominant victories, but it just kind of shows how easy it is to progress, I suppose, to an extent in the women's game, and how quick things can change. And not saying that Gallagher doesn't deserve this shot, she most definitely does, and it's nice to see her getting this shot, and I feel like she has a very good chance of winning this fight, but we'll of course have to wait and see. I'm going to put everything into consideration. Also the fact that this is Lefebvre's home country, that's going to most definitely play a factor. She's used to fighting in France now, and she's comfortable fighting there now, even with the possible added kind of pressure that comes with. I mean, her last performance was a relatively comfortable performance. I think Dionysius gave her problems, and up close gave her problems, but she managed to weather any kind of storm and then come out on top. And to be fair, I said that Dionysius would win, so fair play to Lefebvre for proving me wrong. Gallagher's last performance was a very convincing performance against that Whiteside, who is top level opposition in the women's game. She was 5-0 going into it, and she became, I believe, Commonwealth champion winning that. I might be wrong, but yeah, either way, it's a very good victory. And now to progress onto this is a big step up for her, but it's going to be interesting to see how she deals with that step up. So Lefebvre as a fighter, she's a mid-range type fighter that likes to outwork you. She fights, and she's been fighting tougher fights than what Gallagher has. She has the much more experience on her. She's a back foot type fighter. She's got solid counters. She counters well in combos. She's explosive. She's got explosive combinations. She's got fast hands. She changes levels well. She can reset well, and she's not too wild in my opinion. She kind of knows and stays relatively disciplined majority of the time. When I say that she's got explosive combinations and she counters in combinations, she very much will take a shot and then respond with 3 or 4 other ones, whether that being while she's in close or whether that's when she's at a mid-range. And I think she is better when she's at a mid-range and better when she's on the back foot, but she can sometimes find success in close. She can smother it a bit, but she can sometimes find success just from throwing a lot of punches in a short space of time with that kind of explosive combinations. But like I mentioned, I feel like she's better at that of a mid-range. The negatives about her: she can be pushed back. Her head is very much open quite a lot of the time. She's got quite a low guard. So like I said, sometimes she isn't the best in close, and she does smother her work a bit in close in the process. She doesn't always have the best of timing. Sometimes it can be off when she is trying to counter, so I suppose to an extent it makes sense why she does counter more in combinations, because if her timing is off a bit, you kind of rely, if you're just doing that one shot that you're trying to time somebody coming in with, it might be more powerful, but if you can't guarantee that that's going to land, it's smart to then follow it up with alternative shots, which sometimes a lot of fighters don't do. So it seems like she's definitely worked on that. She is willing to stand and trade at times, a bit too much, and sometimes isn't the best. I mean, when she is leaving her head open and she's not the best in close, when she is standing and trading, it's not always the best thing to do. Sometimes she struggles a bit on the offense herself. If she isn't, or if she's against an opponent who is a bit more of a counter puncher, then she can struggle to push the tempo herself and actually try and get an opponent out of there when they're open to. But I feel like at the moment, the way that the opponent she's been fighting, like Gallagher, I don't feel like Gallagher is just going to sit on the back foot and try and counter against her. Her movement sometimes isn't the best, saying that she is on the back foot quite a lot. She can stand a bit upright as well, not really the best to see in her head movement, there's not loads of it. And sometimes she struggles to commit to her combinations a bit. I think sometimes she'll throw them, but she won't fully go through her punches to be able to commit to them, and possibly that could be an aspect as why she isn't getting many stoppages, or there's multiple different aspects. But she still has good form when she's throwing. You see a lot of these women's boxers, even sometimes at the high level, where they're throwing a lot more arm punches, and sometimes you see it in the men's game as well, and it's not something that you really want to be seeing, but you don't really see that from either of these two fighters, and so that's good to see. But to speak about Gallagher, she's also a mid-range fighter. She's got solid feints. She can fight on the front foot or the back foot. She got good movement. She moves well around the ring. She can control the centre when she wants to. She, like I mentioned, has got good movement, and that kind of links to head movement as well. She's composed at range. She's got a good straight 1-2. She is good at keeping range in the process. She can get hit and then not get hit. That's kind of a thing that she kind of disciplines, and something that she's quite good at when she is fighting on the front foot. She sets up her shots well using a jab, which is quite consistently out there, and sometimes she turns it off a little bit, but most of the time it's out there. She's relatively technical, I'd say. Her fundamentals are good, they're solid. She cuts off the ring well. She's improved throughout fights, and her accuracy is solid and good. And she is a fighter which is going to cause a problem for Lefebvre, and is going to be a difficult fight for both fighters, I believe. And I suppose that's what makes this a good fight. But I think she showed multiple different aspects of a game, and she showed that in her last fight as well, because the fight before was just a 6-rounder against like a journeywoman type fighter who was just to kind of get her back going again, and she looked very comfortable. She controlled the centre, she dominated the whole time, and just popped her with 1-2 shots and didn't really get hit that much. Like I said, hit and not get hit, and kind of watched out the way of anything that was coming, which to be fair was quite predictable from her opponent, but still that was good to see. But then in her last fight, she was a much more on the back foot and kind of invited a bit of pressure to an extent, but then controlled it when she was getting pressured, and she was relatively composed throughout the whole time, picked her shots well, and sometimes got into a bit of a standing trade. But it was nice to see her let her hands go. Sometimes she doesn't really throw overly in combinations, and so it was nice to let her hands go. But yeah, that straight 1-2 is very nice from her. Negatives, I'd have to say she's a bit of a slow starter at times. She can keep out her punches a little bit at points where she's just kind of trying to open gaps by just keeping out the jab, which I understand why fighters do it, but if you leave it out too long, you can get countered, and that sometimes happens. On the inside, I say she isn't the best either, so I feel like this is going to be more of a mid-range type fight between the two of them. Her hand speed, she's not got amazingly good hand speed. She does dive in a little bit at times. Like I said, she doesn't really throw many combinations. Her variety of shots isn't crazily good. I mean, she's got that solid fundamental of a 1-2, which was very good, and she utilizes that very well, and she can change level relatively well, but she doesn't really incorporate many hooks or many uppercuts, and perhaps that's the reason why she isn't stopping many of her opponents. She sometimes smothers her work, especially more when she is in close, similar to that of what I've just mentioned with Lefebvre. Like I said, shot variation, sometimes not the best, and timing also can sometimes be off herself, and sometimes is willing to just stand and trade, which isn't also the best, but similar to that of Lefebvre. Lefebvre is the favourite, and I think that Gallagher will win via unanimous decision. I think if Lefebvre is just going to keep leaving her head open, I think Gallagher's maybe not variety, but the fact that she can fight more on the front or the back foot, it would be nice to see Gallagher trying to push the tempo and catching Lefebvre shots, but also staying disciplined, and similar to what Lefebvre does, where she resets well. Gallagher, if she stays disciplined and just keeps out a jab, and then occasionally comes over with the straight right hand, I feel like she can set up that shot, and that shot can be there if she varies the jab up to the down to the body, up to the head, and has a variety with that. Then I feel like she can gain success, and like I said, she improves throughout. I think that could be the case. Lefebvre is obviously going to throw her hands a lot more, in my opinion, but I think Gallagher could have the more effective work with her solid movement as well. And so yeah, I think she's going to win via unanimous decision. Where could she go on to next? She's called for the rematch against Hughes. Hughes being the WBA champion in the weight below in the bantamweight division, but I don't know if Hughes is really going to be wanting that fight, to be completely honest. Cruz, that is a good fight. I mean, she's just this weekend just happened, became WBA champion at super bantamweight division, so that could be a good fight. Or Scotland could be a huge fight in the women's British division, and I feel like Scotland is deserving of a world title shot herself, and so yeah, that could be a huge fight as well. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoy. Like if you didn't, like this, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.